Hello, nursing students. Here we are. Student Success Part 2. Trust the system. Imagine that this is a process or a maze or a puzzle, and to crack the code, you must respect the structure of the puzzle. Use your resources that are available within that structure. That's your LRC manager. That's your resources. That's your book. That's your instructors. That's the internet. Those are your resources. Change your approach if you have to get around and through the maze. You don't just stand there and butt your head against a wall. You may have to bend and yield to get through this entire process. Be patient with yourself. You have got to remember that you're learning new things all the time, and it's okay to make a few steps forward and one back, and a few steps forward and one back, because your overall picture is then still progress. Learn from the process. This process is put in place in order to develop you into the best professional nurse you can be. If you are already professional nurses, there would be nothing to learn. So you have to realize that is what's going to happen. You're going to have to kind of shape and bend and mold yourself into this process in order to come out the other end and meet all your own expectations and hit your goals. Realize that the process and the end goal or expectation will not yield. It is never going to yield. We are trying to get you to a certain level of competence, a certain level of knowledge, a certain level of performance. And you'll need that in order to be able to enter this profession competently. We cannot lower the standard because you don't like it. So we have students occasionally that will say, well, I think if you'd make these tests easier, it would be a lot better. Well, it would be better for that week, but it would be terrible for that cumulative final at the end of the class. And it would certainly be terrible for the following class. So we really have developed this program over 10 years to be the best that it can possibly be for you to develop into the nurse that you need to develop into. So that is the system. Please have trust in it. If there are things that you do not agree with, or you vehemently want to know what the reason is for them, come to me, come to Mrs. Sproles. We've been around a long time. We can give you a very good reason why those rules are there, or those guidelines are there, or those expectations are there. Accountability. The keys to your success are right inside your own pocket, and that should be very good news for you. If this makes you uncomfortable or frightened, that's kind of normal. It's a lot of pressure on someone to say, hey, the ball's in your court. What you do with it is your business. Many of us are not used to that level of control. But it also can be very liberating, very self-empowering to know that no one can get in your way unless you let them. So remember always that those keys are sitting right in your own pocket. And if you need a little pep talk, if you need for someone to help you reason through some obstacles that you have, make sure that you go to your instructors, or go to Mrs. Sproles, or come to myself, because we would be more than happy to help you with that. Professionalism. We have spoken to it a couple of times, and I think that this model of the 4 agreements is probably the best advice that I could ever give someone on becoming an excellent professional. 1, be impeccable with your word. Mean what you say what you mean, choose your words very wisely. Don't use words that don't mean what you say that they mean, or that you want them to mean. Be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. I know that it's hard to get feedback sometimes when we maybe haven't performed up to our ability, or we didn't prepare well, or whatever. Do not take it personally. It is not about you, it's about your performance. It's not about you, it's about your attitude. It's not about you, it's about your professionalism and things that we think might help you to be a better professional. So please don't take it personally. So many students decide to take it very personally, that they were singled out and had to do a skill over. No, possibly, and we do all these things very confidentially, nobody is called out in front of a bunch of people. But you might feel bad if you know you're the only one that has to redo a skill. But remember, it has nothing to do with you. It has to do with how you did that skill. So we want you to get all the benefit of the feedback without getting confused. So don't get confused. It is not a personal attack. Don't make assumptions. Don't assume that you know what I'm thinking, what a teacher's thinking, what another student is thinking. Don't assume that you have a full understanding of the policies when most likely you don't, because you're the student. I have been working with them for 10 years. I would be more than happy to clarify things for you. Do not assume that rumors are fact. Most of the time they are not. Most of the time they're not even sort of rooted in fact. I have heard some of the most insane rumors from the student body at this school and at other schools because they get it in their mind that they know what's going on and they just don't. So anytime you need clarification, come straight here. Come to me. Always do your best. There will be no regrets if you always do your best. I have students all the time who have failed out of the program or been unsuccessful who come in and say, Dr. Carwee, if I had known it was going to be so hard, I would have skipped that barbecue, or I would have not worked that extra shift for that extra money. And if I had known, and I say every time to them, but you did know. We did tell you it's hard. We did tell you were going to have to adjust the way that you live in order to be successful. Now you've waited until you failed 2 classes and there's nothing more I can do for you. So if you do your best all the time, you show up when you're supposed to, you participate when you're supposed to, you turn in your things on time and completed, you take your tests and you're as well prepared as you can be. And if for some reason you're not successful, there's no regret. You can look in the mirror and say, I gave it my best shot. I hate it when I see students who know they haven't given it their best shot, and then they realize they're out of opportunities. So do your best at all times, and you will not have to worry about anything else. Most important factor to success is that if you have true commitment in your heart and want more than anything to be a nurse and are putting forth the effort that will get you to your end goal, the universe will support you. It is the level of your commitment that is a deciding factor in your success. Your success, it is proven through research, is about 25% is accountable to smarts and intelligence and knowledge. 75% is grit. So what is grit, ladies and gentlemen? Grit is getting back up when you're knocked down. Grit is going the extra mile. Grit is not letting anyone else win. Grit is proving to people that you can be successful. That's grit. When I went to nursing school, my mother looked at me and said, I'll believe it when I see it. Do you know that for probably all of my 2-year degree, that popped into my head over and over and over? And I may not have been successful because of her, but I was definitely successful in spite of that comment. And not to say that I had spite for my mother, but that one comment I did. And I told her that later, years later, when I got my PhD. I said, you really are to thank for my success, because if you hadn't said that to me, I probably would not have developed the grit that I did. So you got to have that grit, folks. Successful behaviors, professional boundaries, follow the 4 arguments, be accountable. Build your house in a sturdy and strong way from the get-go. Don't wait until you're all the way to the end and you're slapping on the paint and the walls are falling down, because there's nothing you can do for your house at that point. Be very proactive. If you see a train coming, move. Move out of the way. If you see failure coming, do something about it. Don't just sit back and say, well, I think I can do it. Be flexible. Examine your blueprints. Adjust them as necessary. Be inquisitive. Take advantage of all learning opportunities. Be positive. Power posing is something that you've seen on Grey's Anatomy probably, where people stand around and they pose like Superman and like Wonder Woman. And it's amazing what that stance, that confident stance, and breathing all that good oxygen into your lungs will do for your positive attitude. Trust the system. We've been doing this a long time. I've been doing this 24 years. Miss Sproles has been doing this 30 plus years. We have turned out a lot of successful students. So now graduates, now working nurses. So please trust the system. We kind of know what's going on here. And if you have questions about the system, please ask. Have some grit. Do not consider failure as an option. Take it off the table and you will be fine. Now, I want to welcome you to the Nursing School Games. May the odds be ever in your favor.